So when someone is hurt at work, they're entitled to collect workers' compensation benefits. They're able to do that without a showing of fault or negligence on the part of the employer. The reasoning behind that is historical in nature. Many years ago, an employee had to prove fault on the part of an employer before they were entitled to any type of recovery. In the 20s and 30s, workers' compensation schemes were enacted, and the trade-off was that an employee was entitled to workers' compensation benefits without having to prove fault on the part of the employer. The employer was subsequently, and because of that, entitled to immunity from suit by the employee. So in the typical workers' compensation case, someone is hurt in the scope and course of their employment, they're not entitled to bring a personal injury action. They are limited to workers' compensation benefits, and the distinction there is important. In workers' compensation, there is recovery for things like lost wages, medical payments are met. There's always the possibility of vocational rehabilitation, retraining, and permanent impairment benefits. But in workers' compensation, there is no direct compensation for non-economic damages. Things like pain, suffering, emotional and mental distress, disfigurement, loss of enjoyment of life. Those are typically available only in a personal injury claim. So, as you might imagine, if one has, in addition to a workers' compensation claim, a viable personal injury claim, the recovery is correspondingly greater. So there are three recognized scenarios and variations on those scenarios, but three main scenarios where a workers' compensation claim can also have personal injury components and a separate claim for personal injury. Those are situations in which a third party, not a co-employee of the injured worker, is responsible through an act of negligence for injuring the employee. Secondly, where the injured worker injures himself or herself by using some type of dangerous or defective product, machine, tool, or device. The third situation that we've come across is where the injured employee is injured because of a dangerous or defective condition on land, and that land is not owned or controlled by the employer. In those three scenarios, the injured employee is entitled to bring both a workers' compensation case and a separate action for personal injury.